With the coming of autumn in all of its splendor, it is once again time for many young people to return to school. Many of the small children will be starting school in one of our many grade schools, while others will be attending junior high schools. Many will also be starting school this fall in one of our many high schools in this vast country. A few will be going to college this fall for their first time. It is this group of people whom we are most concerned with in this film. As for the college, we will pick one local. This college is Ball State Teachers College, and the town is Muncie, Indiana. Ball State is a typical small college. It covers approximately 350 acres, and at the beginning of this school year, there were 5,040 students enrolled on campus. Ball State was not always this large, however. Since 1918, when Ball State Teachers College, as a state-supported institution of higher learning, first opened its doors to a small group of enthusiastic students, this college has maintained a pattern of growth and a record of high scholastic standard unmatched by any other similar institution in the United States. Today, Ball State enjoys a reputation of national recognition, a proven leader in its field. Progress, growth, and expansion have been the keynote of Ball State over the past several years. With a rapid yearly increase of enrollment, construction of new buildings has become a necessity. The Practical Arts Building, housing the Home Economics, Industrial Arts, and Business Education departments, has been used to capacity since its opening 3 years ago. In 1956, the Kitzelman family gave the Kitzelman estate on West University Avenue to Ball State to be used as a conference center. Many conferences have been held there this year. The new girls' dormitory is one of exclusive beauty and style. There are 4 different wings in the building, each named after the wives of the Ball brothers, while the entire building is named Francis Woodworth Ball Hall. This entire dormitory will house 636 residents. Parking is also no problem in this dorm, as there are lots on all sides of a dormitory with attractive and functional driveways. The building is not only close to all classroom buildings, but also to community churches. Notice the church steeple seen above the roof of the building. Here is the music wing of a new building under construction, which will be the largest building on campus. The construction on the second wing, which will house the English department, will begin this summer. Another wing of the building, which will house a new auditorium, will be constructed in 1958. This time, the foundation of much of this large building is completed, and the framework will soon be completed. The female population increase has been equaled by the increase in the male population. And with that large increase in male enrollment, especially since the Korean War, the older men's dormitory, Elliott Hall, could no longer contain the surplus of male students. At present, a new men's dormitory, the W.E. Wagner Hall, is under construction. This dormitory is named after Mr. W.E. Wagner, comptroller and acting president of Ball State during World War II. This building will take the place of 2 parking lots of private residence and an older college hall. A tunnel will link this old dorm with the new one. Work has progressed quite rapidly on this building over the past summer, and actually, rapid progress was necessary, as very little really had been accomplished at the end of the previous spring term. But now, however, we see a new building blossoming forth. Incidentally, funds for this building was loaned by the federal government in the form of self-liquidating bonds. Rent from students living in the dorm will eventually pay off these bonds. When finished at the beginning of the fall quarter in 1957, this dormitory will accommodate 410 residents. And here we see the new trailer court for married Ball State students. It is located north of Riverside Avenue, behind Francis Woodworth Hall. And here we have the new center building of this new trailer court. Homecoming activities usually begin in the middle of the week, with a campaign waged among the sororities to elect their favorite candidate as homecoming queen, a coveted position among all the girls on campus. An eligible male voter entering the student center on election day usually gets a considerable amount of attention from the prospective candidates and their followers. Homecoming activities begin early in the week, and everyone needs a homecoming hat to be in style during these festivities. Fellows are usually glad to part with spare change when besieged by such attractive salesgirls. One of the traditional events of homecoming is the freshman-sophomore games. The freshmen are always out to prove that they are not the greenest people on campus. The odds are usually in favor of the freshmen, who usually outnumber the sophomores, since they have a greater desire to establish themselves as campus champions. This year, the freshmen combine skill with an unbeatable will to win and clutch the victory ring. Some Ball State students study the medium of television through the facilities of WLBC TV, an affiliate of the American Broadcasting Company, where an all-Ball State weekly half-hour program, Teen Canteen, is produced. This program introduced the prospective candidates for homecoming queen to the people of the Muncie area. Activities begin in full swing Friday night with a large bonfire and pep session, which is held to root the team to victory for the following day's football game. In the last few years, the homecoming game has found Ball State opposing Butler University or Indiana State, both arch rivals of the Cardinals of Ball State. This year, Butler University was the visiting gridiron opponent. On Saturday, the festivities of the already big weekend begin with a homecoming parade, the theme of which this year was Homecoming 2056, displaying activities 100 years in the future. The parade forms on one of the side streets, marches through town, and eventually winds its way back to the Ball State campus to the roaring approval of the thousands lined along the streets to the colorful participants. The parade is usually led by the ROTC Color Guard of Ball State. In the new convertibles, you see the candidates who vied for homecoming queen. No Ball State parade would be complete without the Cardinal Marching Band, which consists of 80 members, to lend a helping hand with its colorful, spirited music. The Ball State Band acquired new uniforms recently, which add to their snappy appearance. Each year, several high school bands are also invited to march in the parade. And this year, Royerton High School and Albany High School were invited. Here is the Royerton Band. the Sigma Tau Gamma entry, the Butler Bulldog. And it looks as though the Butler Bulldog has been pretty well chained by the Cardinals of Ball State. Here's a face familiar to all of us, a representation of a popular singer of the time who has chained that particular Butler Bulldog. Here is the Royerton Band marching in front of one of the Ball State fraternity houses. A victory salad, the entry of the Alpha Sigma Alpha house. And you see the chef there on the left preparing the salad. Now the chef is on the right. Victory ahoy, say the Sigma 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 girls. The Callista Art Club can always be counted upon to come up with something unusual and artistic, and here is their entry this year, a representation of future events. And there you see the members of the club in the garb and vehicles of 2056. The Angel Flight, the Women's Auxiliary of the ROTC drill team. Notice the precision of the step. The Pi Beta Phi entry, we shall win. Notice the seashell representing the home of the mermaids, which you see there in the foreground of this particular float. Those bulldogs are wieners, not winners, say the Sigma Chi Epsilon group. And there you see the Ball State Cardinal grinding the mixer, which is grinding those bulldogs into the wieners. Another shot showing the head of the bulldog descending into the grinder. No, we're not in Paris. What you see there is the entry of the Alpha Sigma Tau group, Get an Eiffel. I see they have other attractions on the float also. Cara Celebrate, say the Alpha Omicron Pi sorority girls. The Cardinal Carousel. And here are the girls of the sorority following their float. Now here we have an unusual float, Toast 'em. And there you see the Butler Bulldog coming out of the toaster. The United Student Fellowship Group composed of international students on the Ball State campus. Yukon Freeze 'em, say the Delta Sigma Theta girls, and it'll be a cold day for Butler. Buy your homecoming hat. And here we have the feeding the 5,000 float prepared by the Westminster Fellowship Student Group. And here is another unusual entry from the year 2056, the Kappa Alpha Psi group and their spaceship. Takes a bite out of Butler, says the Cardinal Club. And there go the members of the Cardinal Club following their entry. Hey, sirrah, what is Butler's fate? Asked the Vets Club, a group of veterans on campus, and it looks like the car is a veteran also. The Ball State Atoms, First place winner among the sororities. This time the sorority is the Alpha Chi Omega group. Is this what people will look like in 2056? And here comes the Albany High School Band, the second of the high school bands who were present at the parade. We'll win by George, say the Chi Omega girls. And here comes the Cardinal Squeeze Play, the representative of the Lambda Chi Alpha group. The winning entry of the fraternities, the Theta Chi group, and here's the gridiron entry of Kappa Sigma Kappa. After the parade, there's always a rush to the Student Center, one of the focal points of activity on this busy day. Here, the alumni purchase tickets for the alumni banquet, and there, graduates get a chance to talk of their experiences since last meeting and of their memorable college days. Here, seated at the head banquet table, are Mr. and Mrs. Carl Nelson. Mr. Nelson is a music professor at Ball State. And next to the Nelsons are Mr. and Mrs. Robert Linson. Mr. Linson is an alumnus of Ball State, now serving as alumni director. Next to the Linsons, we have Mr. and Mrs. John R. Emmons. Mr. Emmons is president of Ball State Teachers College. Dr. and Mrs. Oliver Bum. Dr. Bum is administrative assistant to the president, and Mr. and Mrs. Ralph Whittinger. Mr. Whittinger is president of Ball State Teachers Foundation. And as Vernon Craig, Mr. Craig is president of the Alumni Association Foundation for 1956-1957. The meal, which looks mighty tempting, was composed of Swiss steak, broccoli, and mashed potatoes. And notice those delicious rolls. After the banquet is over, there is a rush to the football field for the afternoon game with Butler. This game is a must for students as well as alumni, as can be witnessed by the crowd entering. Well over 9,000 people came to the game on this beautiful October day. And as Ball State enrollment increases, there is added pressure for a new football stadium. More reasons why the male population at Ball State is increasing. This homecoming game is usually one of Ball State's toughest games of the year. For the past few years, Butler has dominated this game, but Ball State is always in there fighting, trying to make the alums proud of their underclassmen. As you can see, the stands are already filled to capacity 1/2 hour before game time. Here you see the Ball State Cardinals warming up before the game. Here are the officials, representatives of the Indiana Intercollegiate Athletic Association. And there you see members of the Ball State Marching Band. With a new coach, Mr. Jim Freeman, former all-conference guard, all-Big Ten guard at Indiana University, Ball State this year was on their way to a winning season until they encountered those ferocious Bulldogs from Butler. There is former assistant coach Dave Scrine. Here, Coach Freeman seems quite concerned over the events on the field. Now here are some random shots of the first half of the Butler-Ball State game. It's Leroy Thompson, Butler's all-state fullback, getting off to a nice run around right in. He was finally hauled down by Dave Kent, defensive halfback. But in the first round attack, Butler held a narrow halftime margin in this game, 14-12, over the Fighting Cardinal team. halftime, the Butler Band led off with a spirited march. Each year, the Ball State and Butler bands exchange visits. This year, the Butler Band came to Ball State. And this band displayed a great adeptness at formation marching, which they accomplished during this intermission. They also presented an attractive group of majorettes to add a pleasant sparkle to their performance. The theme for the Butler Band this year was United Nations Week, and there you see the Butler Band spelling out the letters N-A-T-O, NATO. The Butler Band stays in formation as they leave the field. After the exit of the Butler Band, Ball State's musical group, under the direction of Dr. Merton Utgard, marched on the field, led by a fine Cardinal Majorette squad. Here, some of Ball State's twirlers perform for you. The theme of the program for the Ball State Band was Life on the Mississippi, and there you see the banjo string, and there the smokestack of the Mississippi steamboat. And here again are some of the Ball State twirlers demonstrating their versatility. Here you see the band spelling some letters. It looks like B, and there you see an S, B-S. This must have something to do with Ball State. B, S, C, Ball State College. And the 80-piece Ball State Cardinal Marching Band has again put on a wonderful halftime show. The ROTC drill team was also present to add their precision to the gala halftime activities. Queen, Miss Babs Denny, and her court are brought to the center of the field where they are introduced to the vast audience. Some of the prize-winning floats are also displayed before this excited crowd. Here is the Theta Chi fraternity float winning first prize among fraternities. Now at the beginning of the second half, it's Tim Brown, Knightstown sophomore, going around right in for 30 yards. After this brilliant run, however, Butler opened with a superb aerial attack as well as a strong ground offensive to batter Ball State defenses and pound through a final score of 28-12. There will be other homecoming games in the future for Ball State to gain revenge against the Bulldogs, and this thought is shared by many alums as they trudge toward their cars and the trips home. But all are not so hasty to depart, for excursions to dorms, houses, and suites occupied by sororities and fraternities are always in order. Here old acquaintances can be renewed and new ones gained. Here you see Mrs. Wild, National President, and other members of the Pi Beta Phi sorority. Mrs. Wild was here for the game and the after-game celebration. Here is the Kappa Sigma Kappa delegation seated in their fraternity house. And in the center of this group is Glenn Hindman, the student chairman of the entire homecoming activities. One fraternity member traveled from as far as Washington, D.C., and another came from Detroit to be with his fraternity brothers. And now here we are in Wood Hall in the attractively decorated lounge where we see a charming lady and her beau, as well as the young girl's family. And there are two members of that family who look a little ill at ease in the situation as they engage in conversation and take time to look at this beautiful new dormitory.